Bum ran until he reached the diner. When he finally came to a stop, he leaned against the counter and held his side. His heart pummeled against the inside of his frail ribcage so hard he thought all his ribs might break into bits and pieces. Every part of his stick frame shook. His pores leaked sweat. His rancid rag-like clothes stuck to him. The warmth of the urine in the crotch of his pants had gone cold, leaving the inside of his thighs chafed from his flight. He was a ghastly mix of heat, ice, and uric stench, but he had made it just in time. They sat next to each other on the stools at the diner counter. Bum gazed at Gloria as she sipped on the straw stuck in her sundae. She reminded him of those sweet, tart, tiny hearts, smart and sharp in her date outfit. He was accustomed to seeing her in the diner uniform, an aqua green dress with a scalped white waist apron. This evening, though, her cheeks were pink on milky skin, and the blonde ringlets were pulled back into a curly bun sitting like pretty bunch flowers at the nape of her neck. She wore a gray pencil skirt and a pale pink sweater dotted with white, tiny water pearls. And as always, the smell of rose petals came off her skin. "So, how do you enjoy that music movie?" Bum asked, turning his attention to his own strawberry sundae. He moved the straw around in the melted ice cream. "I enjoyed it very much. This has been such a pleasant evening, don't you think?" She smiled at him. Bum nodded. He felt his body go warm. He tugged at the knot of his tie, loosening it around the neck of his starched white shirt. Glory cupped her chin and gazed at him. "I'd love to do this again." Her voice was soft, and she looked down at the diner counter. Her slender fingers touched the crook of his elbow. "Really?" Bum's hands went clammy. He picked up the napkin next to his fluted sundae glass and rolled the linen in his palm. Glory took a sip of her sundae. She looked at him sideways and nodded. "Well, maybe next—" A growl came from behind. Bum came to awareness in the dark. "Glory?" Her name came out in his hoarse voice. No answer. He turned a slow circle, mouth agape at the sight around him. Gauze like haze filled the dank air. The wooden diner counter he leaned against was warped. The wood split and the patina peeled. Molded padding on the stool seats mushroomed out of the vinyl upholstery. A lengthwise mirror behind the counter was blanketed in cobwebs. The glass showed the pock-like wounds left over from rocks that were thrown at it. Cracks ran in 1,000 directions from the centers like snakes. Diner tables rotted, some were turned over, and one or two of them had even been thrown into the corners of the restaurant. The black and white tiled floor under his feet was broken. Shards of old white tableware littered the area. The crumbling walls in the diner were covered in graffiti and water stains. Bum's hands went over his head. He squeezed his eyes shut. "No, no, no," he cried. This happened from time to time, these flashes, or rather waking dreams. He found himself in the oddest places, scrounging in a dumpster for food, huddled in a doorway on a frigid morning in filthy, rank clothes, and wandering around in this dilapidated train depot, always pushing a rickety, rusted cart with 2 dirty, matted stray dogs at his side. The dreams only lasted moments, and then he returned to the warmth of Glory's presence and the smell of rose petals. The pound of running footfall and snarling compelled him to stumble further into the thick haze. In the distance, an orange exit sign above a door lit a path through the shroud of white. He followed. The air around him had weight, like a heavy blanket thrown over him. Bum found it difficult to breathe. A wave of anxiety swelled in his throat. Fear tried to root his feet to the floor, but basic primal instinct pushed him towards the exit sign. The low growl was behind him, along with the sound of footsteps. He forced himself towards the orange glow. "Glory!" he called out as he heaved one leg in front of the other. He thrust his hands out in front of him. "Hey, stop! Stop!" a gruff voice from behind demanded. Bum looked over his shoulder. The man with the pipe in his hand moved steadily towards him, but behind him, another dark form, the dog. The canine's eyes glowed green. Bum could see the bared teeth and hear the savage snarl echo above the heavy air in White Shroud. "Glory!" Her name came out as a shout. His pace picked up to a dead run. The beat of the criminal's footfall smacked the ground right behind him. This mixed with the heavy pound of the dog. Bum threw himself the last few feet at the door and landed hard against the surface. Only he didn't bounce back, and the door didn't fly open. Instead, he felt his body go through the exterior. On the other side of the door, Bum stood in the dim corridor. A pleasant warmth surrounded him. The wooden floor he stood on had a high sheen to it, and the smell of being newly put down. In the distance, he heard the click of heels coming towards him. Bum squinted. He made out a feminine form. "Glory?" he called out. And to be continued. Thanks for listening.